15 years ago, cell phone brands that were once famous is now buried in history. 5 years ago, the autonomous vehicle was still a concept. Today, our world has evolved to a completely different era. Why? Because of innovation. Innovation has enabled the creation of countless business platforms. In this era, any industry can be revolutionized. Let's break the status quo. Let's create a brand new era. This is an era that we witness revolutionary changes in many industries. 9 Fortunes, an innovative internet plus social sharing platform, was founded by a group of elite entrepreneurs, tailor-made for making American dreams come true. From social media, education, technology, health, commercial lending, financial and insurance services, our elite founders each contributed their knowledge and resources, elevating 9 Fortunes members via training, seminars, and professional knowledge. 9 Fortunes members will be fast started the moment they join. We also provide weekly discussions and seminars focused on creating a revolutionary innovative e-commerce marketing platform. From the collaborative leadership of our top elite leaders, 9 Fortunes will create many million-dollar elite earners in the shortest period of time. These elite earners would be sharing the same platform with 9 Fortunes founders, sharing the new era of revolutionary innovative marketing platform.
Happy New Year, everyone, and welcome to 9 Fortunes Academy. And today's I'm very honored to have brought in my friend, Ville, to talk about understanding college admission. Before I bring him in, I would like to share a personal story. The time that I learned about Ville kind of through a different way of knowing him. So I was doing a lot of financial planning, as you know. I work with some clients in about 3 years ago. One of the students who was trying to get optimizing their financial aids, and also try to optimizing their award and stuff like that, to make sure they are financially sound when they go to college. And then and that student eventually got into Berkeley. And then I asked her, you know, how do you get to Berkeley and what is this GPA? And she said she has about 3.79. Wow, I was dumbfounded because my knowledge of getting into Berkeley, you need more than 3.79 to get in. So I start to dig in and ask, what have you done to make you in the above the edge to be able to get to Berkeley school? Actually, she got into Berkeley business, if I remember correctly. And she told me she worked with the coach, and that's how we connected with V. And V was the coach starting from grade 10, and she told me that he has been helping her to pace the way and also do a lot of activities and get her into kind of the competition and outside class study and stuff like that, to prep her well, and so that she have that special edge to get into the Berkeley. And then my situation is that at that time my daughter is actually in grade 11, and she's I have another coach working with her, but she's still not really having a clue of what she wants to study and how she wants to approach college. So I hooked her up with the V, and then V, over the summer, help her to get into a mindset and discover herself. And finally, she kind of narrowed down into she wants to do business and stuff like that, and then help her to apply for 23 university. At the end, half of it accepted her. She doesn't have really highest GPA. Well, it's not too bad. It's about 3.75 ish, but she got accepted into some UC and state university, and also some private school. And happy to report, I just saw my daughter came back for Chinese New Year, and she just finished the first semester as a freshman in Orange County, a private school called Chapman. And she was very happy there. She was studying business major, and she was actually completing the whole semester with a straight A. So there's something to say about how you prepare someone to be really ready, not just admission to the college, but also prepare her well toward finishing the college as well. I have to say, V has a lot of to credit about that. So without further ado, I'm sure you will be benefiting from what V is going to say, because the admission process could be complicated. There's a lot of changes happening as well. So V, without further ado, please take the platform and help us to understand how to navigate the college admission.
Yeah, thanks for the introduction, Juno. So yeah, I'm gonna start presenting the presentations today. So just give me some second. I'm gonna share the screen. Yeah, so our company is called NV College Admission Consultant. So for this presentations, before I moved in, I want to introduce myself a little bit too. Just a little about my background beside the great introduction by Juno. So I've been an education consultant more than 9 years already. I went to UC Berkeley myself for undergraduate. And after that, I went to Columbia University for my master's degree in international education development. So over the years, I worked with like a very diverse group of students. Each students come to me with different purpose and needs. So based on that, I'll make sure to cover everything their needs. At least for like some of my top tier students, I help them get into top school. Obviously, Berkeley, LA every year. School like Stanford, Harvard, Columbia, CMU, MIT, UPenn, Johns Hopkins, and it varies different major pathways that helping students to identify. And so that kind of lead to this presentations that I will be making, which is I think the code for college admissions. Given actually college admission is getting crazy more competitive these days, and you need to have some kind of clear strategies to approach it to kind of make your profile stand out. So just kind of before we go into that, I want to kind of talk about the admission trends. As you can see, like given like let's say the trends from the UC 2011, versus like 2022, a little bit more than 10 years, you can see a big difference. Like for example, Berkeley 21%, now it's 13%. And the one surprising is like looking at like even like Irvine, for example, the acceptance rate is actually less than double, just less than 10 years. And even UC, LA, it's less than 10% as of last year. Even schools like San Diego, Santa Barbara, Santa Cruz, basically all the percentage right now has been dropping. And it also depends on what major you study and what school you go to, and determine those factors as well too. So for example, for students, these are students, let's say in California. Obviously, non-California residents. One thing you can see is the California resident versus non-California residents. Non-California residents definitely do have a higher percentage. So if you're in California, that's going to be a disadvantage, even compared to like international students. And they also, beside like coming from like California resident, one thing is a lot UC and many other colleges is they break it down even from a high school. So a lot of students, you're not competing with students, let's say from out of state or other school in California, but you mainly competing with students at your high school level too. So especially if your school is a very competitive, like let's say school that I work with, for example, like Mission San and Fremont or Monte Vista High School and Cupertino's and amongst other. So given those competitive, the acceptance rate, is going to be likely even lower than given like, let's say the trend for like California resident, non-California resident, and international. And then I guess like everyone's, when some of some of the parents come to me, I mean, Stanford is like a lot of people dream school. Well, as you see, the admission rate for Stanford, even it's definitely, getting less than right now, actually less than 4%, a little bit less than 4%. There is some advantage. There's called like a early and mid rate. So for Stanford, they have something restricted with early action. So you basically kind of lock in, but it's not the same as early decision where it's binding. But these are kind of strategies that definitely we work with to help students in terms of giving them the best chance. And I'll probably go into more detail that later. But as you can see, the clear trend here is over the years that the percentages of accepting, is actually keep getting worse and worse. And here you can see one of the things is early when I was talking about early decision acceptance rate. So early decision is usually an early action you usually apply early, and you get the result mid-December, at least for early decisions. And some of the chances, so basically like give you like, triple the chance. You can only choose one school to do it. And if you get in, you have to go, it's binding. So there's a good strategies if the students have a school in mind, especially getting to like, I would say top 20, 25 school right now, applying early decision will definitely give you the best chance to get in. In this case, like another, like for so far, I mean, this year, so USC for the first time this year, they have something like early action, which is you apply early, you get the result early, but it's not binding like early decision. So the result actually came, I think like Friday, like last week. And, for this year for USC, you have 40,600 application applying to USC for the early action, and only they only accept 2,400, which is like 6% less acceptance rate. Which is this number is like except like it's like in a way like this is something like very like outrageous in an extent because the competition is definitely keep like each year, since I've been a consultant 9 years already, I could say each year it's just getting more difficult and difficult. So I'm giving that say like, and even how difficult it is, each year, in the B, we still help, students get into, top school. So I want to go over like, what do colleges look for, so colleges, they look for, the most qualified candidate in, generally speaking, and they want the students to develop certain interest and passion. Okay. Certain interest and passion, especially relate to their potential major, so for example, if you're going to study something like computer science, you have to have coursework activities that relate to, because they want, like now the competition level is so more. So they want students that basically know what they want and develop those, skill set and experience, and to be, ready when they're in college. And then also, they look for like leadership, innovation, creativities. Basically, they're gonna ask you, what is something unique about you? And sometimes, students, it's a tough question for anyone to ask, but that is the kind of questions that essentially they want to look into students. Okay. What are college not looking for? Generic application, just one thing, just focus on one thing. And you should have a focus, but you should not just focus on one thing at the same time. So in terms of college, I want to go into so that you guys can understand too. There's for college, there's basically three things. We call it three-circle philosophy. So essentially, there's three things that they will look at. First is academic, which is your GPA. So, private school and other school, they would use they would look at unweighted, which is out 4.0. So if you get an A, then it's 4, and then a B is is a 3. And then there's weighted GPA. So if you take like an honors or AP, an A would be a 5, B would be a 4. So if you hear students say I got 4 point something, they talking about their weighted GPA. So school will look at the first semester of your 9th grade to the first semester of your senior years. But if you're applying early action, early decision, which you get the result by mid-December, early January, or end of January these days, then your first semester of your senior year won't count. But if you're applying regular, then they'll still look at it. And then UC, they would take your 10th and 11th grade, and then also look at standardized tests, extracurricular activities, as well too. So as I mentioned, like academic, these are things that they go in grade point, average GPA. Another thing is they also look at course record, AP, how many AP or honors course you take, and then this can be tricky when parents or students don't understand. They're like, okay, so I just take as many AP and we'd be better. Well, obviously, it'd be better if you can take it and you do well and you get A. But it's not better if you take an AP course and let's say you can't handle it and you take it and you get C or D, then definitely that's not going to be helpful in your case. Okay. And then they also count of core courses, so such as like English, math, science, also language, so those are things that they would count as well too. And then they also look at standardized tests. So what this is getting the mission kind of changed. So what kind of going to standardized tests? Typically before is SAT and ACT. So given the pandemic, this actually changed a lot in the standardized test category. A lot of colleges, they moved to test optional because students at the time could not take. Even this given past admissions, many school has still have test optional. There's school like Georgia Tech and MIT and a few others, they require. Purdue is going to have next year, and then given the the pandemic, many schools going to come back. Well, one school is not gonna have it, which is the UC, which is I think a school that many or almost all my students are interested in. Well, UC no longer accept the SAT or the ACT. So obviously within the 3 circle, if they don't accept the standardized test, then they have to focus on the GPA and the actual curricular activity. So the strategy is going to be different. And then other things they look at is AP exam. Okay. So for AP exam, UC still take it. All the other schools take it. It's not a requirement, but it's highly, especially you try and get into top competitive school, it's highly that you should be take it. It's a good means for them to kind of narrow down certain students from another students. And then for international students, you have to take TOEFL. There's other, English proficiency tests that they take, but TOEFL is kind of one of them that you can take. And then this is a section I like to go into a little more, is actual activities. So in terms of what goes into the circles, it's volunteering, school clubs, you play a sports, music, part-time job, research opportunities, internship, summer program, leadership, signature project. Signature project is like a project, it's a passion project where we help students to develop, especially it connect to the majors, and then also tie into, helping the community as well too, okay? And then there's award and honors, especially top school. This is one of the criteria that I also measure to kind of distinguish students out too. So For example, when we break down like in terms of like college category, tier one school, you look at like Stanford, Harvard, MIT, probably like top 15, 20 school. And then tier school is UC Berkeley, UCLA, USC, University of Michigan. And then tier three, NYU, UC San Diego, UC Irvine, UC Austin. And then tier four, like Santa Clara University, UC Santa Cruz, and among others. So look at again. So these are kind of give you an idea. These are like I would say more popular school that you likely would know. So for tier one, which is generally speaking like top 20 school, right? So for that, actually when you look at top school, grade and test score is not going to be a defining factor for you to get accepted. And what I mean by that is you need to have good grade, you need to have good test score. But with that number, it's too saturated, meaning there's so many students out there that have that. At least right now, it's over 35,000 high school out there, right? At least one school is gonna have, valedictorian or someone with like all A's. In fact, there's school that have many of them, right? And then these kids are likely the test score is gonna be perfect or near perfect, right? So in a way, there's no distinction, to be able to college admission to make. So that's where they, a lot of time is, the actual activities, that's where it's gonna, make a big difference, especially with tier one. And then for tier two, you have 40%, 60%. So they do look at grade, and then but EA is still very important. And then for tier three, 60, they're actually gonna look at more grade and tests, so less on the activity. And then like tier four, a lower kind of, then grade and test is gonna be quite important. So it depends on like where you at and what's your goal, right? So, in terms of college planning, how do I decide what to do? So, let's examine the three circle and decide which area need improvement, right? And then what we can do is based on that. So wherever each clients come to us, we determine where they at, and then how much time they have, and assess how much they can afford to spend their time and what specifically they need to improve in order to enhance their profile, right? So in terms of actual activities, we focus on the theme of like leadership, passion, creativity, so that can include character, match student interest, identify potential, maturity. So one of the things, for example, like Juno was talking about his daughter, she came to me, probably 11th grade, kind of a little late, and there's not as many time, but even at that time, usually when I work with students early, they should have a kind of good ideas by 11th grade, what they kind of have a major want to study. But she didn't really have a clear idea. So we start, have a person accurate test. We have major research, and then we discuss about different, we narrow it down. But more importantly, the students able to, we introduce different activities, program, so the students can able to explore to kind of see if that's a good fit for them, right? And then, of course we want to make sure these are things that the students are interested, because usually, one of our philosophy is actually trying to focus on the strength of the student, because the strength of the student is what defines them, not just for college application, but for future success too. So, what a good EA, definitely it has to be unique, and relevance, in terms of to the majors, but also to the students in terms of what they're interested in. Yeah, so how to improve your EA, for example. So one of the things is like leaders in school clubs. So what we do for some is we also help students to start their own club, start their nonprofits, organizations, start their business, depend on what majors, obviously. And then, there's depend on the students' certain abilities, there's competition we recommend. For example, if my computer science students, I recommend and have people to support them in terms of like the AMC, which is a math competition, Usical. And then there's like my biology pre-med. There's like the Science Olympia. There's Biology Olympiad. I mean, and then there's also the science fair. Many other opportunities that they can do. But competition, like I said, it's not for every student, but it is, for them. Is I think that's one way to kind of further your profile and distinguish yourself. And then in terms of volunteer, I'm obviously volunteer. Everyone can volunteer. I mean, you sign up, right? But I mean, depends. Some you'd be surprised in certain area in Bay Area. Sign up volunteer is actually difficult because students here are very competitive. They don't have room. But generally speaking, one of the effective way to kind of hide your profile is the longevity in volunteer. So if you want to volunteer, just don't volunteer like a month or a day, a month, or especially I think if you can able something that you're really interested in, you want to carry out throughout high school as possible, because that's one way to show your passion, interest in terms of the work you do, right? And it showed that it's more genuine, that you do something is like because you care about, not for the sake of college admission. And that's something like that college admissions, that they are aware that people are just doing just because for college admission they lack certain character, the character, the geniality of it too. And then definitely activities that relate directly with interest, or interest here is the major interest. Of course, obviously, not all the activities and coursework relate to the major, but at least a good amount that can show heavy interest, because even in college admission, some of the essay problem for certain school, they ask you why major, and sometimes you should say, oh, I'm interested in that major because I'm interested in that major. You have to have more concrete experiences or evidence that you develop that interest and further that interest in that field. And then there's also very competitive summer programs. So for example, depending on what in terms of like, especially right now, we're actually helping students with summer programs, applying to them, because summer is actually when the students have the most time to carry out some of these activities, and have there's a lot of summer program compared, and that's also one way for college to distinguish, because certain program college do know that it's difficult to get in. If the students can able to get in, then they kind of help the college admission to narrow down the process for them. And then research oriented work, especially some like bio STEM related, they want to work in a lab. I mean, those are really good opportunities. And then signature projects, as I mentioned earlier, it's a projects that kind of help we work together and identify the specific, for example, what issue the student care about, or a cost they care about, and then then we kind of highlight and kind of build this project over time, and then also connect back to the major they interest, and then more important, you want to impact the community as well too. So just kind of give you an ideas, for us, we're very strategic in terms of what we do. So it depends on when you come to us, but generally speaking, this is our milestone roadmap. For in ninth grade, we like the students to explore their interests, because students at that time, most of them don't have an idea of what they want, and even if they have it, they don't have enough experience to confirm that. So I think ninth grade is a great time to explore, and then in 10th grade, this is when you should have a focus and build a foundation. So for example, in ninth grade, my students' interest in, she want to become a doctor, but her parents in the tech field, and want her to explore all that. I mean, fine. I mean, let's do that. But in 10th grade, after those experience, we should kind of start narrow down and try to build a foundation, have more focus on the Pacific area. And then 11th grade, this is usually 11th grade is the the most rigorous years of high school in terms of coursework and everything. This is when, especially if you go into like a public school, this is when actually you can take the most AP, whereas ninth grade, most public schools don't allow you to take any AP courses. In 10th grade, probably like 1, 2, or 3. It can vary, but generally speaking. So 11th grade is actually, this is where you develop the strength, make it more stronger. So you have to kind of and have certain achievements. So this is not, I would say, a good time for you to start picking up a guitar unless you really, really love it. But it's something like you have to build upon and then make it stronger, and make your profile definitely stand out. And the key here is you have to prioritize, because when you don't have time, then one thing you need to do is you have to prioritize the most impactful activities that will strengthen your profile. And then 12th grade, that's college application, and then this is when we help with college application, college essay, and anything relate to that. So in terms of the essay, so what goes in the essay, dream, aspiration, failures, success, special experience, reason why you want to attend the Pacific College. Things that typically it go into the college admission essay, and every student is their story is unique. So we want to make sure to work with the students and have a strategic positioning, brainstorm ideas, and make sure that their story can only be written by them. Okay, that is not generic type. So yeah, so I want to kind of present like a profile example, of a student case, just to kind of have an ideas. Okay, so for example, this is Sonia. Her GPA is a 4.0. Her SAT is 1580. Okay, obviously with those numbers, she is definitely considered a top tier student because she matched it. But remember, even these number, and you will see, especially in computer science, right? These numbers won't lead you to top tier school. You need to have much more than that, because computer science right now it's just another level compared to any other major, meaning it's so competitive. And especially you are Asians, boys, fit in that theme in the Bay Area. I mean, it's just way competitive. So you have to kind of distinguish yourself in terms of among your peers too. So this is Sonia, but even girls, Asian, in general speaking, right now is still very competitive. So interest in robotic, empowering girls in STEM. So these are kind of interests. So the first thing, like, she actually started working with us in freshman year. So she kind of had interest in computer science. So one of the things is I started have her taking more computer program class, such as Java, Python, online at a community college, just to build her foundation, because you need to have programming skill in order to kind of start to do anything bigger, projects. And then as part of her activity, at least one of them, she really interested in robotics. She joined first robotic team, and they compete in competition. In addition to that, Sana, off the bat realized she's very top student, very bright. So I want her to try out the AMC, which is American Mathematics Competition prep. So I have people. Obviously, we don't prepare that, but we have people to help refer to, so that the student can prepare. And then in sophomore year, she's one of the things is, besides of course she's interested in computer science and robotics, she's very advocate for the equalities of girls in STEM. So she found this not-for organization, Girls in STEM. So you can consider this as like a signature project that we talk about. So Girl in STEM is basically it's a nonprofit. So what she do is she connects all the girls and she create like a monthly magazines, and have people able to publish their work each month, and then each year they hold like a symposium to kind of empower girls, instead of that, to let them know that their voice are heard. And the point is, she's able not just to she spread that to different countries. There's one in Kenya, China, there's Kenya, there's Vietnam. There are many different part of the state in the U.S. So of course, you can create a nonprofit, but the key is how impactful it is too. Okay, and after that, we have her, have a local newspaper interview her and write, a story about her too. And then she got a computer science intern at Johns Hopkins, which I kind of helped her, with one of the applications and the essay. And she's also a tennis captain. She's been playing tennis like with over 10 years before that, so she's really good as well too. But it's something like you have to build upon, right? And then junior, this one of the big thing that we did support is she got into this program called MIT RSI. So MIT RSI is the most competitive program out there. Okay. And if you get into this program, you can be assured to get into, we'll talk about her result later, but very good colleges. Okay. So the application for the MIRSI is 10 page long. Okay. And over the years, we actually helped like, like 3 MIT, Stanford, but we never have able to help RSI because it's so difficult. But with her case, we were able to support. And when I say because there's even among students, there's only a few selected students who are able to. And she's also a 3-time Amy, which is, if you don't understand, it's the AMC competition is kind of level. And then she's also a founder of Heroine Portrait too, which is another organization she found. And then she became the co-captain of First Robotics. So this is her result. She got into Caltech. She got into MIT. She got rejected by Stanford. She got accepted by Harvard. UC, surprisingly, she got rejected to UC Berkeley. Obviously, her dream school was MIT. Okay, so in a way, school can be unpredictable to a certain extent. Okay, just want to make sure, even though I'm in this field, right? But as long as you put in the profile, you should be able to set into, a top colleges. But even then, you think like, okay, UC Berkeley would be easier to get into MIT. Well, some school, they specific look at certain things as well too. So, I mean, one of the things is, even then, what I always, tell parents is, it still can be unpredictable in that extent. Okay, so the next case I want to talk about, Author. Author is, 3.45, which is considered mid-tier, average kind of students. And, his freshman year is actually under 3.0 when he came to us, 2.85. SAT 1470, which is very good. Major business, that's his interest, and then gaming and collecting basketball shoe. So actually, Author was him. He was actually a game addict kind of type, very bright and smart, but didn't really have motivation. Just love playing games, and they just don't have time to do work and stuff too, because that's their world sometimes. So one thing, what he came to me, so he volunteered at animal shelter, basically that's it. And then in the summer he make up FL course. Okay, so he came to me to us in right around sophomore year. So one of the things that we see is, okay, his grade is low. Okay, So then we have him take Hill College courses to actually boost his GPA more. And community college is basically it's equivalent to an AP, meaning it's weighted college like UC, other public out-of-state school take that. And of course, it's easier than an AP class, generally speaking. So he took a few courses, and then these courses, we have him take principle to business, which is an introduction course to business, economic, macro, micro, to help him to explore more into business. And then one of the strategic, I recommend is joining DECA. DECA is like a marketing business. Most schools have that, and they able to explore them with you, and then they have competition, too. So as you can see, his profile after, from freshman to sophomore, become more strategic very clearly. And then I want him to have certain motivation. I mean, because he would have a hard time trying to get away from game. So as well too, having worked at McDonald's, it was initially he kind of hesitant, but then after I break down the benefit and stuff, and especially he's interested in shoe, and then I say work that, use that money, start your shoe business, and then he bought into it, and then one of the signature projects for him, as we start his shoe business. So he been collecting like Jordan, all these shoe brands, because he loved that. His parents were pretty annoying. But we use something that he's really interested in. So, and then he basically what he do is we start a website online, create a website, and then he do a lot of advertisement, and then he basically buy and resell them and gain certain profit. So the point of this is, and then after the profit, he take that and then he donate to like a cause that he care about in the community as well too. So the point is, like, we want to demonstrate his entrepreneurship skill, especially as a business, students. I think these are skills that's very good to highlight to college. And then junior year, he joined DECA Club. So not just join, and then I pushed him to take real leadership, take role, and he loved DECA too. So he became a president. And then junior year, like I say, junior year, you want to accomplish, focus on certain things. And then he expanded his shoe business to make it larger and more impactful. And then junior, we helped him apply to this summer program called Launch X, which is an entrepreneurship program, very impacted. And despite his low GPA, I think his application was very strong. He got in, and that was his story. So then this is his his result as you go is 3.45, 1470. This is another like a really good case where guy rejected USC, you rejected UC Irvine, got into NYU Stern. I mean, with that kind of GPA. I would say, but this case is actually a few years ago. The landscape today, I mean, this case is going to be a little more difficult. In general, it's difficult, but this case, if it replicates, it's going to be a little harder. But the point is, you have to kind of have these strategy to, despite where you're at, in order to have an advantage. Got rejected UT Austin, accepted UC Davis, and then so he decided to go to NYU. And then this one is Kevin's. This is going to be the last case I'm going to talk about. So yeah, so Kevin's 3.79, SAT 1520, biology, pre-med interest, music, medicines, those are interests. He also liked animals, so he volunteered animal shelter, volunteered there. And then he did Tri-C Band Corps. In sophomore year, this is when he came to us sophomore too. And then Red Cross, I have him do Red Cross volunteer, have him do biology Olympia, And then he also had a research experience at UC San Diego in Boston, doing science research there. So, given like, especially if you're like biology pre-med, it's good for you to do medical outreach and then also have lab work, research experience. And then in junior years, well, he joined MedLife Plus, but he became a chapter president. We opened that, at his school, and then he continued his biology Olympia. And then he was also a chief executive officer for Tri CD band course because he loved music. And then in the summer of that, he went to China actually. So during his time, because I think his grandma was not feeling well, and we didn't apply summer program here. So I asked him, okay, is there any hospital there and stuff? So he interned at one of the hospital in Shenyang. Yeah, so this is his profile. Another 3.79 case, different definitely the profile. Guy we checked it by John Hopkins, accepted it to UC Berkeley, but we checked it at Santa Barbara. Like I say again, some of these can be unpredictable. Like that's sometimes student get the UC Santa Barbara result, and then okay, I didn't get a UC Santa Barbara, but you have to have, like I say again, these things to kind of help give you the best chance to, and then got to University of Michigan, also got to USC, right? I think he went to UC Berkeley afterward. Okay, so just want to go over like the NOV college advising flow. So usually we do like an intake personality test and then strategic position, and then we manage your academic, your activities management, your test management. The reason we do this is because these are things college admission looking for. Okay, so it's not just random things. And then we annually review each year, annual review and then modify and adapt depend on the students. So even how good a planning is, it has to come from the student, have to carry out. So as a good consultant, we need to adjust and modify the student profile and help them kind of further their profile. And then of course it's application guidance. Okay, in terms of the if you come to us with application guidance flow, we still have an intake personality test, and then we try to analyze your transcript, your extra curriculum activities, your test result, just to basically in terms of your profile, and based on your profile we can help start out building your college list. Usually we recommend around 30 to 40 colleges to start out, and then these days competitive, all my students apply around 20 colleges, and then based on that, based on your profile, we recommend, okay, are they reach school, are they target a few safety, and then more importantly, trying to find a good fit for the student, right? For example, Guno daughter, one of the things is, given, her, this list is not just, we just throw it at the student. We work with students to see, okay, with geographic location, do they prefer certain school and stuff? So it's very strategic that this is the list for the student. Because the students are the one who is applying, right? And the students want to make sure that it's a good fit that they would drive, like sometimes going to a top school doesn't mean the student would drive too. So those are things that we very carefully select to make sure that the students, these are the list that best match the student. And then also major selection. So for some school, like for certain students, certain major can be flexible. So we give different strategies because certain major is less competitive. We give and all of this is depend on the students and the parents' goal. And then after that, we start essay brainstorming. letter recommendation, advising, early action section of application. And then if students need like there's school that have interview, we help train them. Basically the whole process in terms of the application to give them the best, possible, chance to get into, the top tier. So what we do is not just like essay editing, like a lot of people, just essay, because it has to, it's not just essay alone, it's a whole application process. Okay. And then essay brainstorming. And then we also have now essay specialists to help, with the consultants in terms of editing, and then final review, check off, and then application submission. Okay. So yeah, I know this is a long presentation, but let's go over some important takeaway for this presentation today. Getting better grade is always helpful. Okay, so meaning just want to be clear that like tier 1 and stuff, you need to meet the threshold. That's very important, right? But for tier 1, tier 2, like even good grade and test scores, like some parents like, oh, my daughter or my son has a 4.0, 3.9, 1550 SAT. But then again to, USC, Stanford, why? Well, obviously there's a reason why to that, okay? Given the test landscape, be intentional about test preparations. For example, like, obviously, I recommend all my students to prepare for the SAT or ACT, but there are certain cases where the student's score is too low, okay? And like the UC and CSU don't need the SAT, ACT, okay? And then some school will be test optional. So you having the students preparing a lot of time, putting a lot of time and there's no result. But so rather than that, just don't take it, right? Because the landscape changed. Rather than that, use that time to improve your grade or use that time to do other activities to further that profile. So it depends on certain situation. But definitely if you're shooting top school and stuff like that, you definitely need to take it. Obviously, it doesn't change for UC, but give yourself, right now, UC is also crazy competitive too. So give yourself options for other colleges too. And then challenge yourself in your actual curriculum involvement, explore things you're naturally interested in, okay? No matter which school you want to go to, focus on the 3 circle, okay? So in other words, don't just follow the crowd, So when we work with students, we want to make sure that the student is something, somehow, you can, there's a few things that student overlap, but at the end of the day, somehow the profile student, it just it's different because we work accordingly to highlight the interest of the student. Okay. Yeah, I think that's all for this presentations today. I hope you guys enjoy it. So thank you. Any questions? Please ask.
Thank you, V, for the great information. I have to add some comments as well. My experience of V is very, very satisfying. And I actually work with a lot of parents and students in the past as well. It is very, sometimes you can convince some of the kids just won't listen, right? So a lot of time, even the parents think this is the right thing for the kids, they won't listen. But however, connect with V, right? So if you think your kids need help, do schedule a time with V, and then I can see how it works. And then my daughter is very stubborn, right? Then we won't listen to anybody. But however, V has a way to draw people, draw them out, let them answer their questions. Once my daughter, agree with the approach and stuff that she will follow, right? So I think that is what you need to do, is try to get them to talk to a coach like V and let him do the work. And sometimes it's not that the parents do not know what to do. It's just that kids sometimes, teenagers, right? They don't think the parents know. So sometimes you really need the third party to help to draw the interest. And I'm very thankful for V to be able to draw her out and draw a lot of experience she has and assemble a story that she likes. And she's be very happy in the college right now. So draw from my experience, I think that everybody needs to know. And also for people who are, whether you have kids or not, or if you have friends and families and you have people's parents, they need help, do refer in as well and tell them about what we can offer, right? So in some sense, the earlier it is possible, my kids are already, kind of late in terms of getting help. But if you can get their help, in the sophomore year, like grade 10 or grade 11, that would be very, very, very helpful because we can help them to plan out their curriculum and stuff like that. So now it's open for any questions. If there are any questions, you can type in the chat box or raise your hand. I'll open the mic so you can ask V directly. Any question at all? Anyone? But V, you still offer a free consultation first, right? Do you have put your slide up for the how to connect with you, so that they can do a do a snapshot on the your phone number and stuff like that, so they know how to reach you.
Give me 1 second.
Oh, well, Grace is raising her hand. Okay, I'm going to allow you to talk. Grace, go ahead. You can unmute yourself.
Hi. Thank you for the presentation. It's really helpful and useful. So I have a child. He's a 9th grade right now. So and then he's joining like the college track program. So do you think I can set up the console is with you and to be to get the idea for him, because I really agree. Like Guno say, let the third party, the people talk to the kid, because teenagers. So our parents doesn't help that much. Probably need the professional people to help out him though.
Yeah, so I just for you and for everyone who are interested, I just sent a link to.
You need to send it to everyone and say, okay, I'll repost it. Okay.
Okay. How about? Oh, sorry about that.
There.
Okay. Yes, so I sent a link to book a pre-consultation. There's a direct link from my website, and you can read more. Go through the website. We have review, result, some of in terms of what we do. And then after you book the pre-consultations, then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna request some information of your son. And then after that, I'll go over the case in me specifically, and then I'll go over how I can help him.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It's like it's the time where we need to prepare it.
Yeah,
absolutely. It's the right time to. Ruben, you can talk now.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Excellent. By the way, excellent presentation tonight, guys. Great job. I just wanted to let everyone know that's on this call that about in 1988 I graduated from USC. I didn't get there alone. I had a scholarship. There's a scholarship program. So if there's anyone there on this call, what I'm doing now is I'm recruiting people to USC, and what I'm doing is I'm putting them in touch with the scholarship programs that help pay for my tuition, my education. And I'm also active and connected with the USC Alumni Association, which allows me to bring over high school seniors and give them a tour of the campus, and also point them in the right direction as far as applying for the right loans and scholarships and the different grants and different programs that we have to offer at USC. So if there's anyone out there on this call, I could give you my number. if you don't mind, I could.
Yeah, you just put a number there. Actually, V can use your number too. If you, any student that he come across that needs some help on the financial aid side, scholarship side, he can connect to you too. So we can send it your way on USC side.
Right, exactly. So
Yeah.
my number
Okay,
is
thank you.
my number is 626.
Just type it there. Just type it on the
Yeah, I'll just
chat
tap it on the chat. No problem.
Yep.
Okay,
Excellent.
okay.
Thank you, Ruben.
That's all.
That's a great resource. Excellent. USC. All right. Thank you. Any other questions you have? Anybody have questions? I really encourage you. You have any doubts and stuff like that, just schedule a free appointment with V, and then explore the possibility before you commit to anything. I think that's the way to go, and you'll be amazed. I promise. I promise.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. It will. Time is actually. Okay, great. So anybody, you might want to take down the phone number as well. Anybody? If there is no more questions, then we'll call a night. And thank you for coming. And do give me some feedback about this kind of seminar, and then we might do more in the future, right? So okay, all right. Any other last call? Any questions? If not, thank you very much, V, for your great information. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, and thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, and good night, everybody. All right, see ya. Bye bye.